You are listening to How to Get Over Your Ex, episode number 254, the first step to getting over your ex. Welcome to How to Get Over Your Ex, a podcast on getting over your ex without it just taking time. I'm your host, Breakup Coach Dorothy. Let's turn your pain into power and your heartbreak into Hello, beautiful brave hearts. I hope you are doing amazing. I am sending you so much love and a huge hug, okay? So something I'm asked pretty frequently. So like when I'm out in the wild with other human beings that don't know what I do and I'm asked about what I do and I'm like, I'm a breakup coach. I help people get over their ex in 3 months or less. I've got the podcast, it's fascinating. I mean, I get bombarded with like a lot of like specific questions of like, what's the best thing or what's this one thing? And you all know me, I'm more of like a long form content girly. So it's interesting in those situations talking about it. But one of the things that I've been asked recently that I thought was such a great question is, what's the first step for someone who's trying to get over their ex? What a beautiful question, right? And it's a question that I want to talk about here on the podcast because I don't think it's as straightforward as people want it to be. However, I have a straightforward answer to that, right? And we've talked about it in previous episodes on the podcast. So if you're new here, welcome. So excited you're here. And one of the core fundamentals that you'll learn about is the decide, commit, and practice process. And that's really deciding to get over your ex. A lot of individuals have not decided they want to get over their ex. They just want to be with their ex, right? They want their ex to be different or to choose different, and they haven't even made the decision, hey, I'm getting over my ex. The second step is committing to that decision. Someone who's committed goes all in and decides they will keep going and keep trying until they figure it out. They know they will reach their goal because they're committed and all they have to do is just not give up, right? And when we're committed to becoming someone new, we're not making out with old stories. So decide, commit to that decision of getting over your ex, and then practice being the version who's over your ex. How does that person show up and make decisions? How does that person feel and what do they believe about themselves and their life? Go out and be that person day in and day out and practice being that person until it goes from effortful to effortless. Now, that is the straightforward and easiest explanation. And we talk about it a lot in the beginning episodes of the podcast. So for sure, go check those out if they ring for you and they feel aligned for you. And maybe you either want a refresher if you're from around here, or if you're brand new, you want to go and listen to those episodes, because what's so neat about learning how to decide to get over your ex, commit to that decision and practice is when you learn how to really implement those 3 steps, you can actually use that process for anything. If you're like, I want to be $1 million business owner, all I have to do is decide I'm doing it, commit to that decision and practice and figure out the how, right? And then if I want to change my career and I want to become a marine biologist, all I have to do is decide, commit, and practice. So learning that process and that skill set is so fundamental to getting over your ex, but it's also fundamental when it comes to building your bigger and better life. Okay. But today I wanted to focus a little bit more specifically. I wanted to document some of the differences on where to start based on where you're starting from. Because I found myself when I was asked the question of like the first step to getting over your ex, it really depends on where you're starting. And we're going to talk about some tangible tools today that may be more applicable for you to get started based on where you're coming from. So my first question, if you're coming to this episode and you're saying, Breakup Coach Dorothy, what's the first step to getting over my ex? My first question to you would be, where are you starting from? Where are you right now? Are we looking for the first step for someone who is currently feeling like they don't want to get over their ex? They just want their ex back. Is that you? Or is this the first step for someone who's completely consumed by the devastation of it all? Like in the depths of despair, devastation, grief, the feelings are all consuming and completely debilitating. Is this the first step for someone who is functioning in their day-to-day life? Like they're not debilitated by their emotions anymore, but they can't stop thinking about this person. They can't stop thinking about their ex. Or is this the first step for someone who's pretty much over their ex, but feeling really hopeless about their future? Right? Or maybe a combination of all of the above, but you can probably peg yourself and put yourself in one of those buckets. Okay. Again, I want to remind you, 1, decide to get over your ex. 2, commit to that outcome and make it happen no matter what. Commit to not giving up. Your only job is to not give up, and you'll guarantee yourself that you'll get over this person. And of course, build the bigger and better life. And 3, practice being that person every morning, stepping into that version of you who's already that person. How do they think? How do they feel? And how do they show up? What do they do in the world? And then here, I want to explain the caveats or the specific tools that would be helpful depending on what situation or scenario you are starting from, okay? So the first one being, okay, I don't want to get over my ex. I just want the person back. That is where I'm starting from. The first step here would be to decide what getting over your ex actually means. Decide what you want to do in the meantime of waiting to get back together with your ex. Decide to use this idea of wanting your ex back as fuel. Don't make wanting an ex back a problem, but use it as fuel to get to work in moving on and creating the life you wanted with them, regardless of what they're doing. Okay? Because if they come back, I want you to be in a different place and have different tools and skills. And I want you to be closer to the life that you wanted and know it's not reliant on them. Because if you get back into that relationship again and you haven't done this work, it will feel uneven and unequal, and you'll be terrified of them leaving again, right? But this way the decision becomes yours. And maybe you want to try that relationship again with them if they come back, or perhaps maybe you've outgrown them. But either way, you guarantee a new relationship, whether it's with your ex or with somebody new, when you don't let wanting your ex back be a problem and get in the way of you moving forward. And here's the thing. To me, getting over an ex means 2 things. Number 1, emotional maturity. Learning how to no longer be at the effect of your ex. And number 2, knowing how to feel confident in your ability to create the exact life that you desire, regardless of who's in your life. And learning these 2 things and having these 2 things for yourself are going to be important regardless of whether or not you end up back together with your ex, okay? So that's the first step if you're wanting to get, or if you're not wanting to get over your ex, but you just want your ex back, okay? The second one that, situation that we talked about, the scenario that we talked about, is being consumed with debilitating emotions, okay? The first step here is safety. Safety, safety, safety. Nervous system work. You need to get your booty into a yoga class, meditation, some sort of somatic healing of some sort, acupuncture, body work, Reiki, cranial sacral, Thai massage, processing emotions with your inner voice, beanbagging, grief bubbles, and learning how to allow emotions through to create safety in your work. Bilateral work. So good. We talk about all of this in the podcast here and of course inside of the Get Over Your Ex course and program, but you've got to be able to calm the system down enough to be able to look at where and what these emotions are coming from. And yes, of course, thoughts. But if we can't settle enough or feel safe enough, we can't even get a look, like a good look, at what thoughts are creating what feelings. And we can't just sit with them long enough to get to know them and become aware of them, of what's going on, because we're rushing and we're panicked and we're trying to change them so we can feel better, so we can get back to our life. We're like in a hurry to get out of these debilitating emotions, which makes sense and I understand. But the first step is to slow down and create safety within your nervous system, which is body work. Now, this is a scary phase to be in because it can take you away from your life, okay? I have a lot of clients who come to me, they're telling me that they can't get to work, they can't do their work, they're not present with their kids. It's a hard spot to be in, but I want you to know there is a solution, and it's body work, it's inner voice work, it's moving through emotions, which is, like I said, taught on the podcast, clearly outlined in our Get Over Your Ex course. Slow down. B, don't try to fix in this phase, right? Emotions are not problems to be solved. They are experiences to be had. Calm your nervous system. Scenario number 3 that we talked about was, perhaps you have moved out of the not functioning phase and you're like, I am functioning. These emotions are not completely debilitating. I wouldn't say that I'm thriving here, but I'm obsessing over this person or participating in compulsive behaviors, right? And this to me is a desire and attachments thing. We talk about this all in the podcast as well. However, the very first step in this situation is releasing any sort of shame that you have about yourself. And the way to release shame is to not make your behavior a problem and to not make your behavior mean something bad or negative about you, to not get mad at yourself, and to have a zero tolerance policy for negative self-talk. Okay? It's okay that you're thinking about your ex. It's okay that you're doing things that don't feel like you. You must be nice to yourself about this before we can change it. You're not going to punish yourself into submission. When you're a dick to yourself, it actually perpetuates the problem. And if I'm already terrible at this, I might as well just keep doing it, right? It just perpetuates it. Get comfortable with the thoughts that are there and get comfortable with the behaviors, knowing there is a solution, knowing you're doing something about it. And the first step is just pure awareness of wow, I'm doing this. Why am I doing this? What feelings are driving this action? What thoughts drive these feelings? And these thoughts and these beliefs, are they true? Who would I be without them? What is it costing me to believe these stories? What are some alternative truths that move me one step closer to where I want to be? But it starts with being kind to yourself. And I want to tell you, I work with some very prominent, powerful, badass women, like people you see on TV, on the red carpet, like people that you probably look up to and idolize. And they're doing these compulsive, obsessive, behaviors that are just so not like them, right? And it's not because there's something wrong with them. It's because it's a reward loop that was built in your brain from the beginning of the relationship. And we wouldn't talk to other people in the way that you're probably talking to yourself about doing these things. So don't do that. Even thinking about the younger version of yourself, don't be a dick, right? Be kind to yourself. Be like, I am doing something about this. I am figuring this out. I don't like it. And I'm okay because I love you. I'm here for you. I've got this. We're going to figure this out. And it's okay that this is happening. We're going to figure this out together. Be there for yourself. Be your best friend. And then the fourth scenario we want to talk about is, okay, I'm pretty much over my ex, but I'm feeling off about my future or feeling fearful about the future without this person, or maybe it's not even about the person anymore, right? It's about your capacity or your capability in creating your future. And the first step in this scenario is to let yourself want what you want. Just allow yourself to want what you want without understanding or knowing the how. I have noticed so many people thinking they need to be a certain way or it should be a certain way that it hinders their outlook on the future because they are so frustrated by thinking about what they want, right? Thinking that what they want is something that they shouldn't want. I have so many people that I work with that are like, I want a beautiful, healthy, badass relationship, but I need to be good on my own first. And when you say that, it can be discouraging because you think it's almost impossible. But it's no, we get to learn how to be good on our own, but we also get to go after having this relationship. And both of them can be happening at the same time. And we can recognize I want a relationship and I'm happier in relationships and I like that about myself and I'm going to go for it. But I think we also, the second part of that is we get wrapped up in the how. And we've got to focus less on the how and more on your capability to figure it out. Build up the relationship with you, knowing you've got you, and your only job is to be so committed to what you truly desire that you don't question whether or not you'll have it. Can I say that again? That was a really good line. Your only job, Braveheart, is to be so committed to what you truly desire that you don't question whether or not you'll have it. You simply explore all of the possibilities of it arriving. And you are more focused on what skills would be helpful for you to build and create that. What skills does this version of me who already has this thing have? And what's my next best step? What am I being nudged to do in this moment that lights me up and is joy-filled or maybe just lighter, right? What is the next step? Not what are the next 10 steps to get me there? Even myself, I get completely debilitated when I try to think about like the complete how, the complete plan versus being like, I'm being nudged to do this one little thing. And from this one little thing, maybe a complete plan emerges. But sometimes it's just like the little nudge of this one little next step. That's the step I need to take. Let that be enough. Okay. So fun. Okay, there you have it, Brave Hearts. 1, decide. 2, commit. 3, practice. But more specifically, where are you starting from? And then use what I gave you for each scenario to go from there. I love you all so much. I hope you have a beautiful week, and I will talk to you next time.
If you're loving the How to Get Over Your Ex podcast and you want to learn how to get over your ex in 3 months or less to build a life better than the one you thought you had with your ex, I would like to personally invite you to my next group course where we take everything you've learned here on the podcast and apply it to your life. Come check it out at www.lifecoachdorothy.com.